Prince versus Warner Brothers. This is Prince's revolution. Prince, being a pioneer artist, was never satisfied with just being an artist. He wanted to be the artist, the musician, the producer, and everything else that pertained to his music. He wanted to make sure that his rights were honored through every aspect of his career. Prince, being the musical genius that he was, wanted to make sure that he owned his own masters and music catalog. He became one of the first artists to go where no other artist had attempted to go before. No other artist until Prince attempted to fight the huge label machine to own the rights to their own music. Most artists took what they were given and made it work, but not Prince. He wanted to own his name, his music catalog, his masters, and he wanted the freedom to release his music whenever he wanted. Whether it be a 3-song EP or a 70-song record, he wanted the ability to release music whenever the spirit hit him. Prince could not understand how a label could recoup all of its expenses, yet still own the artist's masters. Warner Brothers, on the other hand, wanted total control as well. The purpose of an artist on a label is to make money for them. They wanted to keep him bound to the contract that he signed. Warner Brothers had a $100 million contract with Prince, with him receiving a $10 million advance per album and a 25% royalty rate. They wanted a return on their contract, but they wanted to choose what music was to be released and when to release it. They chose everything for him. He would have to comply. What Prince did was what every artist was thinking, but to some degree didn't have the guts to do. That is, fight. During negotiations, what would really turn out to be a large industry fight, Prince found a way, or at least he thought he found a way, to release music without Warner Brothers having a right to his music. He changed his name to a glyph and was then referred to as the artist formerly known as Prince. But this was unsuccessful. The name change did not change the fact that he still had to comply with the contract signed by him for the remainder of the projects that he had to put out under the Warner Brothers label. Prince reverted to using dirty tricks like performing on nationally syndicated shows with the word slave written on his face. Or he would make comments like Prince, in concert, perfectly free, on record, slave. Another dirty tactic that Prince used was that he would try to get other artists to fight with him. Unfortunately, these tactics didn't work. Prince would also release music that really wasn't his best or quality to just get a record done. He would do this just to fulfill his contractual obligations, but this negotiation and battle would last years before it was resolved. One dirty trick that Warner Brothers used was not releasing one of Prince's most important projects. The Gold Experience was an album that Prince was very happy to release under Warner Brothers, but they decided not to release it. Prince then felt that this was a ploy to keep him under contract as a musical slave and not let him go. Negative emotions were used throughout this entire negotiation process, and both parties were not trying to hide it. In this negotiation, negative emotions led to specific actions that fueled the time it took for this negotiation to be resolved. Prince wore his negative emotions on his face during interviews, figuratively and literally. Warner Brothers, on the other hand, spoke about it. They felt like they had given Prince everything he wanted because he signed the contract and now he didn't want to comply. One former Warner Brothers executive stated, "It felt like getting punched in the solar plexus, especially with all the racial connotations. That's just wasn't who we are." Warner Brothers used their status as a label and the contract owner to at least get Prince to put out some projects. In turn, Prince used his status as a major artist to release projects on other labels and independently. He used his status to sway public opinion on this matter. One thing that did not go well in this negotiation process was communication. Both parties were not talking to each other. Prince took this negotiation into the public eye instead of keeping this negotiation a private matter. He expressed his disappointment for what was going on publicly. This easily made the negotiation more difficult to resolve. Now, both parties had a reputation to protect and no one would give in. One thing that the parties did right during this negotiation process is that they were both honest. They both spoke their truth about this negotiation. Although they couldn't see each other's side, They were honest about what they needed, what they wanted, and would not stop until they got it. Although it took many years for this negotiation to play out, an agreement was finally reached. Prince finally owned his masters and also re-signed with Warner Brothers for a 2-album deal. This helped to reestablish a relationship that had been lost for many years. Had Prince not passed away, this would have opened the door for a continued relationship between Prince and Warner Brothers. So please check out my references. They'll be following on the next page. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation on Prince and his Warner Brothers negotiation.